Guys, welcome back to another video in our electrical series. In this video, I'd like to go over conductors. Remember, video back I talked about what makes a basic circuit, and it turns out one of those is conductors. Now, I want to jump right in. I want to talk about atom or atomic structure. Really quick, basic review. Remember, inside we have our nucleus. It's made up of protons and neutrons, and then on the outside in our valence shell, we're going to have our electrons, and there's going to be about 2 of these to make a good conductor. If it has more, somewhere up in the range of 6 or 7, it's not considered a conductor, it's considered an insulator. So just remember, things that make good conductors are things like gold, copper, aluminum. I think platinum is also a very good conductor of electricity. So that concludes our review. Now let's get on to new stuff. All right, so there are 2 different types of wire per se. There's going to be stranded wire and there's going to be solid core wire. So let me go ahead and we'll try to draw some stranded wire. Stranded wire is just going to be a bunch of little wires that make up a bigger wire. I'm sure you've seen this one. It's very popular. On the outside of that stranded wire, we're going to have an insulator, something like rubber. Because remember, that has an atom structure with a lot more tightly packed electrons. Then we're going to also have our solid core wire. And now solid core, and then it's going to have an insulator around it. But solid core is just going to be a solid chunk of copper, I guess. It depends on what type of wire you're using. We're going to probably be using some copper wire in this class. We might get into some other stuff, but most of the time it's going to be copper. So we have solid wire, we have our stranded wire. Again, stranded wire is just going to be a bunch of little wires that make up that bigger wire. The reason you might want to use one versus another one. The solid wire can handle a lot more amps. It can actually handle the flow of electricity a lot better. Now, the stranded wire, being the more popular one, is better for, some rough situations. It can be flexed around. It can go around corners a lot better. It can just handle the everyday work a lot better, but it cannot handle as much electricity. So things are used kind of depending on what they need, right? So the solid core wire might be used for things like speakers because it needs a lot cleaner signal going out to speakers. It can be used inside walls because you're never going to be moving it around. Once it's ran, it's going to be there forever. While the stranded wire might be used in places like inside of electrical boxes or inside cars where things might be moved around quite a bit, and it needs to have that flexibility. Again, we're going to be playing with this a lot more, so you're going to notice that the solid core wire is a lot stiffer while the stranded wire is a lot more flexible, and it's not going to break as easy. So what happens if you take a wire and you're constantly working it back and forth? It's going to become work hardened, and then it'll potentially break. It's not to say that this can't happen with stranded wire, it's just a lot more difficult to do that with. So again, solid core, stranded. Solid core is going to be better for things like inside of a house or inside of a wall, while stranded is going to be better for, something on like the side of a robotic arm or something like that, where it's going to be constantly moving around and changing. So right there, kind of all the information you need to know about wires. The only other thing we're going to talk about a little bit more, and I'm going to talk about this as we're kind of working through the class, is wire gauge. Now, something that's very important, a bigger gauge, or I should say a smaller number, is going to mean a bigger gauge. As in, if it's a 1 or a 2, it's going to be a lot thicker wire than per se a 14 gauge. Now, we're going to probably be working with a lot of 14 gauge moving forward because it's a lot more, easier size to use, while the bigger sizes will handle a lot more, voltage or amperage going through them. So we want to, kind of use the right wire for the right situation. But again, I'm going to talk about that a little bit more as we go through the class. Just know solid wire is going to be used for things like inside of a wall, and it can handle more electricity, or can handle it better, I should say. And single or stranded wire is used for kind of everywhere else. If you guys have any questions or want to talk more about wire, please let me know, but go ahead and continue on.